Hey everyone, how's all of you doing? So, the time is now. Video number 35. As I promised you guys, in this video I will tell you who are the gang stalkers. You know, when I first started this series, I didn't know exactly how to go about it, and it was just go with the flow and tell my story and what I went through and what I know about gang stalking. And everything I told you guys are the truth from my experience. Before I tell you guys who are these gang stalkers, I have to start with the story. So when I first moved to this property, there was no fences, there's no trees. I'm the one that planted about over 100 different trees. I dug all the holes. I planted all the trees. And when I first moved here, it was just everywhere I look, people could just walk onto this property. So when I was living here, I started to feel like someone was at my windows at night. And for anyone living in a new place, getting the feeling that someone is outside the outside the window, on the other side of the window, it's frightening. So whenever I had that feeling, I would go to my window and kind of peep out through the blinds. I wouldn't see anyone. But also, I did not set up all the lights. So it was just really dark out here. And that's when I started buying these motion sensor lights and started installing them at different corners or just around the property. But that didn't help, because the lights can only do so much. And there were times when the lights would just go on, they'll turn on, but there'll be no one out there. But obviously at the time I didn't know, so I would just, in my mind, I would think, oh, they're probably hiding. They're probably hiding behind something. So it was myself listening to these lower voice to skull, putting more fear into my mind, thinking, oh, these people are hiding. They triggered the motion sensor light and now they're hiding behind something. And I would go outside to investigate. If I go outside to investigate, by that time it would be too late, because they can hear that, I'm going outside. I'm walking out, closing the doors, so just not the type of investigation that I was looking for. So then I started buying security cameras. I got over 16 cameras installed at one time. And on these cameras, whenever I have a feeling or had the feeling that someone was outside, I would check my security cameras and there'll be no one there. And a few months after that, I would start noticing that my neighbors were talking about me. Whenever I'm outside doing work or just outside moving things, I can hear the neighbors talking, or coming from the direction of the neighbors. But at the time I didn't know it wasn't my neighbor. Of course, logically I would believe it was my neighbor because it came from their direction. And then over a period of time, I would start hearing these same voices, these neighbors, on the other side of my windows. And they sounded like little kids at the time. There wasn't any adult voices, just kids. So I would just, at the time I would think, okay, just my neighbor's kids. But still, I didn't want them on my property, trespassing. And let me tell you, back then, everywhere I go, I was strapped. I was strapped, tucked into my belt. Whenever I'm outside of my house, anywhere on this property, I was strapped. And I am the type of person that would never want to get into a confrontation. I never want to get into a situation where I would have to pull out my piece, because my philosophy is, if I'm going to point it at someone, better be ready to use it. And it's better be life or death. And thank God none of those situations ever happened. And one time I was checking my security camera. I remember seeing something by my window. And what this something was something in the shape of a person. It was on the other side of my window from the previous night. And I remember during that time when it was happening, I was in my room and I felt like someone was at the window. So I looked over at my window. And as I'm watching my footage, that was the same time this person was at my window. And what I saw was this person peeping through my window, and then it just jumped backward like this. This person jumped backwards and it disappeared. Now, what triggered this person to jump backward was because I was in my room and I looked over at my window. So I saw that and I didn't think much of it. It was almost like my mind was in a trance and I had no idea what I was looking at. And also during this time, I would strongly believe it was my neighbors that was coming over here. One night, okay, fast forward now, one night, I was out here in the dark, doing a perimeter check, and I heard Spanish music coming from the other side of this barn. I have a barn right here, over 100 years old. And the music sounded like it was coming from the other side of this barn. And I didn't have no lights set up here by the barn. I have lights set up over there at the house. So, I wasn't scared because, I was strapped. And I just kind of walked over to the barn. And the strange thing was, as I got closer to the barn, the music was further away. So when I first realized this music, it sounded like it was just coming from the barn. As I walked towards the barn, the music was moving further and further and further away. As I got to the other side of the barn, looking into the field, it was pitch black. But the music sounded like now it's way out there in the middle of the field. As if a car was parked there and people were just chilling in their car, listening to music, blasting music. And I didn't have any night vision goggles or nothing, so I just looking into pitch darkness and I can hear this Mexican music, Spanish music, way out there. So I didn't go out to the field. So I just kind of started walking back towards the house. And as I was walking back towards the house, the music was getting closer. As I'm standing over there close to my house, I can hear the music now back at the barn. So for me at the time, I had no idea what was going on. So now we just walk back towards the barn to investigate, and the music was further away again. And I believe at that time I just kind of yelled something out like, oh, don't come over here, blah, 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 blah. This is private property. I just kind of shouted out into the darkness. And then as I'm walking back towards the house, the same thing happened. The music was closer again. And at this point, my mind was somewhat in a trance, because I'm not in fear, because I'm not scared. But at the same time, I feel like these guys are messing with me. These a-holes are messing with me. And that got me a little pissed off. So as I walk towards the barn, now for some reason, my mind tells me, oh, these guys gotta be hiding inside the barn. And this barn is actually not safe to go into. So it's fenced off. And I was on the outside the fence, and I had this Bowie knife, this really big Bowie knife. So I pull it out, and I was just kind of like brushing it along the fence with this Bowie knife. I kind of walked around the fence, just brushed this knife along the fence. And that's very threatening in a way. But I didn't care, because I feel like this is private property. You can't be here. And as I was doing this, my mind kept believing there are kids inside the barn, and they're just frozen, purposely not make a sound. Like they just stop whatever they're doing and just kind of like chilling there. And since the barn is pitch black, if they're inside, they can look out and see me, but I can't look in because I'm standing outside and there's more light outside. So I was just kind of like talking out aloud. I was saying, I know you guys are in the barn. I know you guys are in there. Come out right now. But there was no response. So and then I said, I'm not going to do anything. I just want you guys to not come over here. Just stay away from here. This is private property and the barn is not safe. And there was no response. So I kind of just walked away. I think I said something along the line like, okay, just leave and don't come back. So I walked away. Ever since then, that moment, the targeting just got more intense. I can hear them more frequently when I'm staying inside. Led up to a point where I just can't handle the frustration, because it's very frustrating, where I just start cussing at him. I don't know if you remember the one video where I just hit the wall like this. I hit the wall and I say, F you, really loud. And ever since I said F you, all these verbal abuse was just coming back and forth. Just they're talking trash, I'm talking trash. It just back and forth, back and forth. Now, if you're listening to what I'm telling you, you're probably thinking, is it possible that these gang stalkers are not people? I never thought that they weren't people at the time. For over a year and a half since that night, I saw the person jump backwards. It jumped backward and it disappeared. My mind did not register what I saw. And it took me over a year and a half to fully register that what I saw into my mind, and finally come to a realization The gang stalkers or spirits? Dead people. Ghosts. Some of you out there already know, have an idea who they are. And there's a lot of you out there who will not accept this information. That's why I took so long to build up the information and kind of just pulling you guys in and try to build my credibility, because I hope by now, after 35 videos, that I have the credibility to win you guys over and make you realize, okay, I do believe him. That, okay, he's got to be telling the truth. The gang stalkers are spirits. And let me tell you, there are more spirits on earth than living people. I'll also tell you this. Every single building you go into, every dwelling you go into, there are spirits. There are spirits everywhere. There are spirits inside your car. Some will follow you, some won't follow you. Some people can hear them. Majority of people can't hear them. If you're a true targeted individual, you're gifted. You can actually hear these spirits. You just don't know how to go about it. And now let me also explain something to you from what I learned. These spirits, they have personalities. Imagine this is just all high school. You're going to get good spirits who are shy and they don't want to say anything. But once in a while they see you in trouble, they might throw you some good thoughts in your mind. While there are some bullies, and the bullies are the evil spirits. And you know what they do? You know what we call them? Demons. A demon, it's a bully. Now, if you're not a bully, and you're not understanding the idea that a bully will have a mindset of messing with people. So now imagine that they're already dead. So they have all the time to just mess with people. And the good spirits might be shy, they don't talk as much, but they'll secretly kind of help you along the way. So it's like a battle of good versus evil. And bullies are the ones that tend to talk a lot more. They also call that poltergeist. Now, another piece of information that's very important to understand is, yeah, they're spirits, but not all spirits are equal. What does that mean? There are ancient spirits out there. There are spirits that are so old, they just have more power. If you get an older spirit that's a bully, that's a stronger demon. And if you disrespect these demons, they're going to try harder to mess with the person. That's why I don't advise any of you to talk trash to it too much. But then again, I also thought about this. they're not going to leave you alone because you can hear them. These spirits, it's like hitting the jackpot to find a person that can hear them. And UTIs are the jackpot. And since they're bullies, if you don't talk trash, you don't defend yourself, they're just going to keep messing with you, and keep messing with you, and keep messing with you. That's why it's important to stand up to yourself and just stand up against them. Your spirit is getting attacked. And for me, based on my experience, whenever I defend myself, my own spirit, by talking trash, play my audio, I feel like there's a boost of confidence for me. And that's what works for me. And that's why I teach you guys to play the audio. These spirits, if you want to think about how they operate, you have to put yourself in their situation. They don't have a physical body. Their biggest weapon is their words. The mind game. That's their biggest weapon. And as soon as they put fear into your mind, they have the advantage. And that's why I teach you no fear mentality. Any little bit of piece of information could turn into a fear and then branch off into many fears. So you have to start to understand what you put into your mind. And you have to start to understand what are positive and what are negative thoughts. Paranoia, it comes from lower voice to skull. If you let these paranoia, these thoughts into your mind, each one of them is a seed. And this seed can blossom into a fear. And this fear is exactly what the gang stalkers want to use against you. That's why if you have a terrible experience with relationship in the past, with cheating and things like that, you have to make peace with yourself. Because if you don't make peace with it, these gang stalkers can pull up those negative thoughts in your mind at any moment, and all of a sudden you're gonna get depressed. That's how I learned it, and that's how I figure out what to do. Is gotta make peace with myself. And once I've done that, I take away one of their weapons. I take away one of their method to use against me. For UTIs, every single day, every moment of your life, these spirits are attached to you. They're following you. And you got bullies following you. These bullies are messing with you. They don't necessarily want you dead, but they want you to be in fear. And when you're in fear, they are in control. They can manipulate your life. They can prevent you from going out and meeting friends because they'll throw some negative thoughts into your mind, and all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're starting to not want to go out anymore. Or you don't want to do this, you don't want to do that, because the lower voice to skull is just messing with your head. But now that I told you whom are these gang stalkers, you have the upper hand. for those TIs out there who just haven't advanced to this point, and you try to doubt what I'm saying, you're just not ready. Out of 35 videos now, I taught you guys a lot. And if you don't want to believe me, that's fine. You want to believe the government, that's okay. I was there at one point. But you'll be stuck. You'll be stuck. You're just going in a circle with no answers. The difference between you and I is I was at one point believing it was the government. Now, I know it's not the government. I know it's spirit. I have more experience. You don't believe in spirit? You have less experience. It's the way it is. At video number 40, I will show you guys what the gang stalkers look like. What are these gang stalkers look like, and how are they following you? And once you get the visual into your mind, a lot of things will make so much sense. Your spirit is going to be elevated. Let the information sink in. If you believed it was the shadow government or just some type of DEA, CIA, FBI related, and you've been following me, it's okay. I know what I know by chance that I discovered it. I'll tell you guys exactly how. And that's why I have the responsibility to share with you guys what I know. Some of you might accept this information and go with it, while others will just slowly work towards it, to understanding it. The gang stalkers are spirits. And these spirits are bullies. Now, and these bullies, some are just extremely ancient. Yes, ancient. And those ancient spirits, it's going to require more than just one TI. It's going to require a group of TIs to battle it. And I'm not the first one to understand this concept. For one example, it's the church. They already know this. Sorry, there's a bug there. Another one is Tibetan monks. And there are many other whom are just battling these spirits on a daily basis. In Tibet, a TI is considered an oracle. An oracle is the person that goes into a trance and talk to these spirits, ask them questions, look for answers, or ask for answers, and then advise the Dalai Lama. So TIs are oracles. In the West, you can say we're mediums. We can hear ghosts and spirits. But just so happen, we're hearing some bullies. Because there are mediums out there whom are TIs, but then they don't deal with bullies. They actually have spirits that communicate with them in a nicer way. They have a better relationship. But then mediums like you and I, the TIs, we have bad relationship with the spirits because we have bullies following us. We have bullies messing with us. So you have to defend yourself. And I hope you guys will try to find new ways to battle these evil spirits. And if you discover anything that can benefit other TIs, please share. Please share with me. Please share with other people, other TIs out there. One thing you do have to remember, from what I learned, it's better to not trust the spirits. The good spirits will help you, and they don't need anything in return. They don't need to tell you and ask you for something in return. And they don't really talk either, okay? They might send you some good thoughts. Think about your family and your life and some things you gotta take care of, some business you gotta take care of. You have a certain appointment that reminds you of, you have to be at this appointment. They might do stuff like that. It's only the bad spirit that's gonna try to put you in fear. And they're the ones they can pretend to be a good spirit, and they will demand something in return. So it's better to just not trust them completely. It's up to you to decide from now on, from this moment forward, which side you want to be on, good or bad. And for the rest of your life, you're going to have to make that decision. It is good versus evil. Not just your action, but also your mind, your thoughts. So there you go. The gang stalkers are spirits. And all TIs, true TIs, are oracles. Sounds good, huh? Oracles? Shoot 'em home. Signing out.